Simpsons tribute.
Yeah.
And Ninja Turtles. All that you need.
Okay, so...
Hey, we're talking about the Techport Arena. Up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun.
Hi, Bill.
And Colleen is producing again, and she
Now I have
did
more buttons.
fine last week.
But I have too many buttons.
But we have Phil here. It's been
Phil.
a while since we've seen him. So Phil's back, reading the comic.
I am reading Madhouse Comics. And I just want your fans to know that in 1977, it says, "Yipes, bionic couples should never hug each other." So that's your public service announcement.
Public service announcement.
Bionic couples should never hug each other. It's good to be back with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And yeah, we talked about it. I was like happy to talk about it, but we're talking about the Techport Arena / center.
Yeah, we did like a little video on it to show people, because we did a show on women in gaming, and so we did like a little video to do kind of a walkthrough when y'all had that when they had that kind of open house night or whatever, just to go see, and they had free gaming in the LAN area.
Oh yeah.
So we did a little video there, but we wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about all of that. So you do that. You talk.
So what is the Techport Arena / center? Because it's a lot more than what everybody usually thinks about it. And we have some stuff to queue up if you want to queue that up, Colleen, as we're talking about it, when you go to the queue up button, because I got to like train her how to do that.
It's live. You're learning this.
You're learning this live. She's learning this live. So.
You know, Techport Center and Arena is the most high-tech arena in the United States. And full disclaimer, I do not work for the arena.
Okay.
And I did not stay at Holiday Inn Express last night, but we were the integrator that built out all the broadcast workflow in the arena. So the control room, the psych wall studio, the TOC, which is the server room with 30 racks of gear. We also did all the lighting in the arena. And the truss and everything you see hanging from the ceiling.
Yeah, I heard you ran tons and tons of fiber cable.
There is like 60,000 feet of cable that we pulled in that arena. Because it really is, there's all these little boxes around the arena called JBTs. And in each of those boxes, there are 12 strands of ST fiber. There's 12 audio tie lines for comms. There's 24 audio tie lines for patching in audio to the mixers, and then there's also 3 SMPTE fiber connectors, and there's like 13 of those around the arena. So like tonight, we're getting ready for a big boxing match tomorrow, and they wanted to do video shots of the outside of the building. They just plugged their camera in, it came into the control room, you know, getting all their shots, and you know, anywhere in the arena you can go live. It is quite high tech and pretty amazing.
That's really cool.
But yeah,
that's really cool.
What makes this arena unique is, and like I said, I do not work for the arena. I'm not a representative of the arena. I'm strictly the guy that helped build it. So, but it's a lot of things. It's a 3,500 seat concert venue. And why is that important for South Texas?
Right.
You know, most of the venues here are either massive arenas or they're concert venues. So 1,500 seats on the low end to the high end, which is 20,000. And there's a ton of artists that can't sell enough tickets to justify being at a 1,500 seat venue.
Right.
Or the ticket prices have to be too high. Or there's, 20,000 and they can't sell out a 20,000 seat venue. So at 3,500 seats, it's packed. It's great bands. I mean, the opening band there was Smashing Pumpkins. They kicked off their world tour here in San Antonio.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And then the next big event we did was the Battle for Texas esports event. So it was Houston versus San Antonio, and there were thousands of screaming esports fans, and the lighting looked good, and everything was cool, and everybody was having a great time, and it's been a variety of artists from Papa Roach. We got Boys to Men coming up. They just announced 2 nights of Judas Priest.
Yeah.
And, it's going to be great, legendary artists that are coming in there. And that's important for South Texas because it's going to draw people in from all over.
Tickets are very reasonable.
And there's not a bad seat in the house. That's the most amazing part is every seat is great. And then in addition to the arena, it also has a food court with local restaurants like Earl Abel's. Go get an Earl Abel's burger and chicken tenders. There's Big Bib Barbecue. Even Charity Bar has their ramen. And there's Mexican food. There's pizza. And it's great. They have a bar in the middle. So there's happy hours from 2:30 to 6:30 every day. And then you have the LAN Center with 60 of the most high-end gaming systems.
The LAN Center was like awesome.
Oh my gosh,
because we have like a whole little slideshow of like some of the LAN Center stuff, and you can kind of see all of the it's a lot darker in there than the photos that we took.
No, it's a great environment, and
it's great.
Fluid Gaming did all the computers.
I love the computers. I love the way they're like see-through. They're super sick, and it's like liquid cool. And so it was a lot of like when I walked in there, I was like, oh yeah.
And what's cool about those computers is normally if you go into a LAN center, it sounds like a jet engine is going off because all the fans are just so loud. But it's so quiet in there. So if you're gaming, they have really good noise isolating headsets. I've some days after we're working, we'd go in there and play, and I found because the headsets are so good, I was like, am I yelling? Like go, come on! We're playing Fortnite, and I'm like, and they're like, Philip, you need to keep it down because you don't know how loud you're yelling. And but it's quiet in there. I mean, you could sit in there while people are gaming, and you can hear the sound of the air conditioning vents because the machines are so quiet.
Right.
In fact, I'm in the process of getting my own Fluid Gaming computer because I love it so much. I'm going to put it at Nelco, and use it for my graphics computer there. So, then in addition to the LAN Center, they've got SAMSAT, the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology.
I heard they were.
It opens
when
in
we were there. It hadn't been.
That was in a different building.
Yeah.
It's on the other end of the arena's on this end. You have the food court, LAN Center, and then the museum. But what's cool, a lot of people don't realize the technology that has been developed by people here in San Antonio or developed here in San Antonio. So the founder of the SAMSAT, the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology, is a guy named David Monroe. Some people may have heard of him, some may have not, but the guy has influenced every single person in the world.
Wow.
You know why? He invented the cell phone camera.
Really?
He invented the cell phone camera was invented here in San Antonio.
There's actually a lot that was invented here in San Antonio. I was actually going through the museum because, I'm a teacher and I'm a nerd.
And the Preview Museum.
I went through the Preview Museum. And so I was talking to some of your colleagues and letting them know, like, here in Texas, we have a Texas state standard for social studies that asks us to let students know what innovations have come from Texas, right? And there's so many. And so I'm hoping that they expand on that even more because there's medical innovations that have come from here in Texas, not just from San Antonio alone, but from, Texas in general. But San Antonio has a lot of innovators. Like, I don't think people realize how many.
This is probably, everybody thinks Austin's the high-tech center. It's not even close.
We just don't get any credit. I don't know why we never get any credit.
Well, that's what this museum is going to change. Because people will come to a concert, come to the LAN Center, go to the museum. Like David Monroe, the founder of the museum, he also invented passive night vision. Every military person in the world is thankful for that. He was also part of the team at Data Point that developed. Did y'all know that the first personal computer was invented here in San Antonio?
Oh no, I didn't know it was here in San Antonio.
Personal computer.
I thought it was invented in Texas, but not in San Antonio.
In San Antonio.
Really?
In fact, Data Point, who invented it, designed the first microprocessor, and they went to both Intel and Texas Instruments and said, "We need you to make this." And so the Intel is now known as the processor company. Before they were just memory. But if it weren't for San Antonio, Intel would not have made a microprocessor.
Nice.
Because it was designed here in San Antonio. And they also developed the first, and David Monroe was part of this group. You know, they invented the first commercial computer network. I think it was Token Ring.
Yeah.
Now, there was networking, but it wasn't for business. It was just like for scientists. And it's like, here's business computer networking. Here in San Antonio, they helped develop Wi-Fi here in San Antonio. And David Monroe was part of that crew at Data Point. And then after Data Point, he went on to do all this other stuff, and it's amazing. So, and also full disclosure, I'm on the board of SAMSAT now. So, I love it so much. They're like, hey, you're hyping us like crazy. Why don't you be on our board? So, I am so excited about SAMSAT. And like one of the other things that's cool is like Jim Pershbach, who is the CEO of the Port San Antonio. And there's the DeLorean's going to be made here.
Yes.
And we've got all this stuff. Air Force One, I think, is being made here in San Antonio. And so there's all this innovation that's going on here in San Antonio. And so when they built Techport, Jim Pershbach did a talk the other day and announced that this Techport arena, the port is not going to make $1 off of it.
Really?
They don't want to make $1 because every profit that they make is going into donations to empower kids to get into science and technology.
That's amazing. That's great.
That's great, especially because you guys are centralized within San Antonio ISD. Yes. And they don't have the same benefits that Northeast ISD and Northside ISD have. So for them to get a benefit of a place like this and the museum like that, just hint, if you ever need a teacher to give y'all some stuff so that y'all can get some field trips for those kids to come out there and see the innovations, because it does connect to like middle school and elementary school, like Texas state standards.
And another cool thing that a lot of people don't realize is all summer long, SAMSAT is doing summer camps. So, and they're not free.
Right.
They're not dirt cheap. They're great summer camps.
Right.
But there are companies that have done grants to get kids from certain schools into those classes. So if there's students that want to go to these camps and they may not have the budget, or it just doesn't work in their parents' schedule or in the budget schedule, there's ways to get into those camps. To give you an example, my daughter,
apply for scholarships.
2 years ago, my youngest daughter's 13. So 2 years ago, I sent her to space camp. And the guys that were mentoring at space camp worked on the moon landing. They're working designing habitats for Mars. So it's like really cool people. And my daughter spent a week at space camp and came out of space camp and said, Dad, if I'm going to be in the Mars program, I need to get a year ahead in math. And so my wife got her some math books, and she studied math all summer to get a year ahead in math. And this was not us pushing her. It was not us encouraging it. It was just her saying, I have to do this because I want to work on the Mars program.
Wow.
And that's the kind of doors that SAMSAT and Techport Center and Arena open, is because a lot of kids, they see all these cool things, but a lot of kids don't think, I couldn't do this. I'm not going to have access to this.
And they don't realize that the access is here in San Antonio, because like one of the nice things about Northside for the gifted and talented kids is they get to do a mentorship their junior and senior year. And so one of my students from several years ago, because I've been teaching for a while,
at least more than several years.
She got to go
more than 3 years.
and work with some of the people that work here in San Antonio for NASA, and they're working on a Mercury lander. And she got to work on that project as a high school student.
Talk about mind-blowing doors being open.
Yes.
And that's the thing.
And that's this city.
And I'm not going to get the stats correct, but if 100,000 kids come through the programs at Techport Center and Arena and SAMSAT, and only 10% go into STEM, and that's what's going to happen. They're going to get excited about robotics. They're going to get excited about cybersecurity. They're going to get excited about, esports. They're going to get excited about space and aerospace. If 10% get excited about that and go into that field, it's going to have $1 billion impact on San Antonio. It's going to have $1 billion impact, because once you go into STEM, I think they said, and once again, don't quote my stats, but it's like a $40,000 or $50,000 a year impact on their income. It's a life changer for so many kids that are trying to figure out what they want to do with their life. And the cool thing is it's fun. You
Right.
know, I mean, you know, they want to play video games. So like one of the other events that happened at Techport was ForceCon. ForceCon
Went
was
and
an
saw some of that.
esports tournament for the military. So it was
Military.
Air Force, Army, Navy, Marines, Space Force, and Coast Guard. And Army has a full-time esports team. And the cool thing is you have that 3D spatial awareness to navigate these maps. You could learn to fly drones. You could learn to run bomb diffusing robots. You have that mental ability to get into those fields. And the cool thing is these military branches are recruiting that. They want the kids that have those skills. So all you kids out there whose parents complain you play too many video games, say I'm prepping for my job, you know?
Well,
here's
yeah.
here's a funny thing. Back in the past, it was years and years ago. It was like I was in my early 20s. So we were doing some research for the Air Force. So you're in there and you're playing, essentially it's asteroids, but you have two button floor buttons, and you have to press that and alternate them while you're doing this and trying to do the game at the same time. So they want to see your kind of reaction time to be able to do this. And
So it's multitasking. And
so, but they were doing that back in the
20
early
years
90s.
ago when he was in his 20s.
nowadays they're playing Fortnite and PUBG and Halo.
Well, but my 8th graders, as one of the 8th grade Texas standards, we have to teach topographic maps, and it's hard for them to realize that they understand the spatial representation of a topographic map. And I'm like, how many of y'all play a video game? Go look at your video games and see how many of y'all have been using topographic maps for years.
It's true.
You're looking at the topographic map and you're going through that. And so then I was getting kids for 2 weeks playing video games, and they're sending me screenshots.
Hey, look, this
Look,
is a topo map.
look at
This is
this
a topo
topo map. Look at this top. I know how to read this
It's
topo
like you're
map.
learning how to design levels in your video game by learning to use these topographical maps. What's really interesting, in a previous life, my dad developed this manipulative toy for early childhood development. And he was working with Louisiana Tech University. And Dr. Janie Humphreys was over early childhood development. And they're an engineering school. So they were trying to figure out at that time why more girls weren't going into the maths and sciences. And they were looking back to early childhood development. And they said in those early childhood classes, the boys gravitate towards block center, girls go towards creative and dramatic play. And her theory was that we need to get girls into the block center because that develops your 3D spatial awareness. And what's cool is, fast forward to today, every little kid's playing Minecraft. My daughter can navigate these 3D worlds, and I can't even tell what she's doing, and she's going through her house that she designed, and they're visualizing this, they're navigating it, and they have the high-hand coordination to do it. And so video games have really, I feel like, met that need, so that and then they get the creative and dramatic, and they get all the benefits of the 3D spatial awareness.
And if we could teach teachers that this is okay, because a lot of the teachers haven't played video games. It's fantastic. I had a kid who they had to do a chemistry project over an atom, and so he went into Minecraft and he created a whole museum for that atom.
No, he did not.
Yes, he did.
Sick.
He made like little characters of who the people were that like found the atom. He made he made the atom in like a 3-dimensional but blockish way, like with all the Bohr model and stuff. It was fantastic, and he showed me what he understood, plus understood more than what he really needed to understand as far as this type, because I let him play.
Well, it's like the Gardner's intelligence, multiple intelligences.
Yep.
You know, education for so long was just auditory and visual.
Yeah.
And now with these new tools, you get those kinesthetic learners, and you're really reaching the kids where they're excited to be, instead of pushing them to where you want them to be. And all that really matters is, do they learn it?
Right.
And if they're excited, like the kid in your class, he was so excited about doing this. You know, if he had to do a report and just turn in a report, he would have done, I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but, you know, they would have done the report, and they would have done the minimum and said, okay, here's my deal.
Here it is.
But because they're in a place where they want to be and they're excited, they go above and beyond like they did. They learned more than they were required to or expected, but and they really learned it.
Right.
You know, and it's so exciting, and that's where these tech centers and the Tech Port Arena and Center
bring you to.
and the Land Center and the Science and Tech, the San Antonio Museum of Science and Technology, it's hitting these kids where they want to be reached.
Right.
And they're having fun while they're learning, and they're being exposed to careers that they may have thought were out of touch.
So you say careers. Now, we saw something briefly. We didn't get to like go inside, but we saw from the outside. There is like a co-working space within the tech center.
Yeah, the Capital Factory.
Yeah.
Yep. I have a picture of that right there.
Yeah, and so it is and what's cool is like at the food court. You go into the food court at 5 o'clock. People from the Land Center are in there. People from the Capital Factory, and it's like networking.
Right.
People from Boeing, people from DeLorean come in there to have a snack, you know, and it's like a hub for just awesome things in South San Antonio. And that's an area of San Antonio that really deserves to have that resource.
Definitely.
And that's what's cool about what Jim Pershbach and his team at Port San Antonio have done, is they've created the most amazing resource for San Antonio in general, but especially the schools that are right around there.
Yeah.
You know, in the neighborhood, they have the highest tech center, and it has way more than any other district in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm not an employee, but I am a very avid fan.
So I heard one of the things
Me neither, but
about the
same.
Tech Port Arena that this was the first building centered around esports from the ground up build.
That's not necessarily accurate. There's been a lot of esports arenas built around the country. There's one in Arlington.
But they were something before it was an esports.
I'll have to fact check that one. But the thing that makes this one different is this one is around more than just an arena. It's not just an arena.
Yeah.
It's the Land Center. It's the museum. It's the Capital Factory. It's all of these things coming together to make something that's one of a kind.
And you can get video feeds from every single place all at once.
Yeah,
right?
we can take feeds from anywhere. We just throw a camera up at any of the JBTs, and we have cameras wherever you want it to be. It really is spectacular.
So speaking of all the cameras and everything, tell us a little bit about, because you're Nelco Media, what you did.
Yeah, so Nelco Media, shameless plug. We sell video equipment. Buy your cameras from me, please. But we sell equipment. We build it. We can design it. We didn't design this. We were hired as the integrator. So we sold them all the equipment, and then we put it all in, installed it, and made it work.
Right.
And we've been working on it for about 4 months. It's a massive project. You know, actually we started truthfully mid-February, and our first concert was the first week of April. But you're always tweaking and refining and making things do things that, you know, they wanted to do. So like I said earlier, is we're doing a big boxing event there tomorrow. So I've been in there saying, they're like, hey, can we do this? Yeah, here, I'll show you how to do it. You know, and that's what we've been doing. So we're supporting them after the fact, that after the opening, for, you know, a period of time. And, you know, I'm just geeking out, man. It's Geek Out SA.
I bet, yes. Because when we went to go see it, because we got a lot of behind the scenes looks at everything, and we got into places that ordinarily people don't get to see or either want to see, but I wanted to see everything because I was totally, yes.
I know, yeah. He was in that server room, and I'm like, I'll be the social media manager and take pictures of you enjoying the server. Yeah.
Vince was looking at cable trays.
He was.
Look at the cable trays. So there's some cool stuff that's going into SamSat. Like, they're going to put these things called light pipes on the cable tray, so it looks like data's moving through it.
Nice.
Oh,
they're going to have a flight simulator that's a vertical takeoff and landing flight simulator.
Very cool.
And like one of the exhibits that's already in there that they're working on, there's a guy who designs robots. It's called Andy Robot. If you ever saw Lady Gaga on the music awards show where she had the keyboards on the robot arms moving around, that's an Andy Robot. So now they have that robot in the museum, but now it has like 86-inch computer monitors that move around, and the video moves on them.
Wow.
And, you know, it's, you know, self-driving cars and just so much cool stuff. You know, we do geek out every day.
Well,
and
there
I've
was
been
like
there.
joysticks and stuff for the cameras that you could move things
Yeah,
around. That I
robotic
was kind of
cameras.
like, I was kind of geeking out about that. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? And then the whole, you guys set up the whole green room?
Yes, we did the green screen studio, which is a 2-wall cyc wall, so it's an infinity of green screen. So you can just go stand in there and you can do anything, you know, any green screen stuff you want in there. You know, great lighting. The cyc wall studio is pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
So what is that, like you built that room, but what is that going to be geared for? Like what?
Well, I mean, like an esports tournament comes in and they want to put their casters in a studio.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they throw a little desk in there. Now the backgrounds, whatever, they could be Fortnite behind them.
Right.
You know, like your wall and your wall. But very, very expensive.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, none taken. We don't have that kind of money, but we did paint the wall green, and there's
it
some
looks
fabric.
good. And all that matters is it works.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
definitely.
it's perfectly lit, perfectly smooth green screen. The walls are like there's no corners in those
Right.
2 walls.
Yeah.
It curves and it curves to the floor, so it truly is an infinity with no wall shadows or anything like that. So yeah, that's one of the cool little features. Not a little feature. All of it's big. Every little piece is amazing. You know, but you know, as you get so
Because
close
to light a green screen correctly, it isn't like an easy thing. You don't just like put a green screen up and then it all works. Like
No, and
this.
we have to keep, like, before you got here, because usually Aaron sits here and his skin tone is a little bit darker than mine, and then like yours and my skin tone is a little bit different, and his and my skin tone is different. So we were messing with all of the
gotta dial it in.
Yeah, we were trying to dial in all of the camera stuff to make sure that, because last time we did it when I was the producer, we forgot to change those settings. So then I was like, mirror, you know, because I'm very white. I was like glowing.
You know, the funny thing about being in that green screen studio there is the green is so bright, your eyes adjust to it, and when you walk outside, everything looks purple.
Wow.
And it's pretty trippy. So we're in there working and we're doing our thing, and then you walk out like, oh my gosh, everything looks weird. You know, so it's trippy. It's a super trippy experience. But yeah, it's an honor to be part of this. It's an honor that, you know, Sunt Construction and Big State Electric, who we worked with on this, chose us to do this part of it. You know, because I told my team, I was like, this is in our backyard. We have to do this. And so we moved mountains, and people opened doors for us, like David Monroe and the guys from Port San Antonio, and even City Council. You know, like give these guys a shot. You know, because we're a ragtag band of freedom fighters. You know, we do big cool things, and I work on massive projects. But we're not, you know, the 800-pound gorilla in the industry.
Right.
Well, you guys have done some stuff for NHL, right?
Yeah, we just finished a big project for the National Hockey League. So they wanted to do this new look, a new angle for cameras called the 11-man camera. And so it's a camera that we built it into this custom metal housing, and it's hanging above so they can look down on the ice and see all players on the ice at once. And you know, from goalie to goalie or goal to goal, and we have a wireless little controller. So someone's sitting either in the control room or on the floor, and they're adjusting focus and iris. And we used all Blackmagic cameras for that. And that was a huge project we did, and it's done here in San Antonio.
Right.
Every NHL arena in North America has a camera that we built.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Cool. Yeah.
That is super impressive.
And how it's set up, it's the first time it's ever been set up that way?
It's
Wow.
it's a custom, housing that's made to be adjustable. It has power in it, controls all the powers. We had to do custom power.
Are you going to
supplies.
get a patent for some of that stuff?
No, that's NHL really did the heavy lifting on the design.
Oh, okay.
Because they knew what they wanted, and I worked with the NHL for years. They're like, we need somebody to build this. Can you do it? And I'm like, yes. And we did like 36 of them.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you do
Nerd
something? Did I hear that you did something with NCAA or NBA or you did a basketball something else?
We do a lot with, we got, back in the day, I helped the NBA kick off their whole streaming initiative for the NBA Development League, which is now called the NBA G League. So now, we've been working with various teams. Like we did an arena down in the Rio Grande Valley for the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. So we did all their cameras, their control room, replay, feeding their LED boards, things like that. So we work with a lot of big brands. We did a cool project for the NFL. So when COVID hit, nobody could go into the studio.
Right.
And so they knew they had to do remote production. So we built out all what they call the remote kits. So like the technical director we built a kit with cases and everything. The technical director gets a kit. The audio engineer gets a kit. The talent gets a kit. Graphics gets a kit. And then they're all sitting in the garages of all these people. And then if there's ever an emergency and they can't come to the office, everybody gets out their kit, plugs it into their internet, and it all talks back to the main network in Culver City, and they're doing remote RIMI production.
Well, building the kits were like a really cool thing because back in the day, even before COVID, you were putting some of these kits together that you would show me as look, you can get this and this and this and this, and it's all in one pack and ready to go. And that was a real interesting thing that I saw that you did pre-COVID.
Yeah.
So you were ready for all of this.
We were in remote production way before COVID, but we were ready when COVID hit. In fact, we did one for Univision here in San Antonio. Same thing. They have their TriCaster in the control room, in the engineering room at the main studio, and then they have kits that go out to talent and graphics. Same kind of concept, but they all feed back to. So basically, if there's ever another pandemic or whatever, you just have to have an engineer at the studio that's making sure they're all talking together, and everybody's producing remote, and it's pretty amazing.
Very nice.
So if anybody wants to get into media, like you're into media, aside from like sports and sports arenas, and what other things can you do media events for?
Well, I mean, we live in a television world. It's just like you're doing here. You made your own show. You didn't have to wait for an executive at some corner office in New York to say, yeah, we'll greenlight your show. You're like, we're making a show. And you've been doing it for a long time, and you've got a great audience and a lot of cool people that have come through and you've interviewed. And so there is no gatekeeper anymore. So you can get free software like OBS, and start making a show. Where you can make money on it, where great money is in corporate. When the pandemic hit, product launches came to a grinding halt. People were spending $1 million to launch a product at this big venue. Now they're doing it remote. So getting into that corporate side of things. If you're a student, you need to either, if you don't have a video club at your school, start a video club. You can do it for almost free.
We should.
and or get involved with the athletic program at the school and say, hey, I want to run cameras, or I want to run the switcher for the high school games. Because a TriCaster operator, for example, the average TriCaster operator gets at least $300 a day.
Wow.
So if you're a high school, my son, when he was 20 years old, going to San Antonio College, this group called me and said, hey, we need a technical director in Dallas for a week. I was busy. I said, hey, my son can do it. He made $8,000 in a week.
Nice.
$8,000 at 20. So needless to say, I'm not paying for his college. He's paying for himself. But he, but there's opportunities, and people, if you just learn it, and like SamSat, they have esports tournaments, and they let students come in and run the equipment if they want to.
That's a great
That's
a great learning experience.
And you get to run an esports tournament. In fact, there's a guy that SamSat had as an intern that was amazing, and I'm giving him a job interview on Monday. I may be hiring him on Monday.
Very
nice.
He knows he's got an in. But I mean,
but that's so good.
Get discovered.
Yeah. And we've talked about this before when you've been on the show before. It's about putting the work in, right?
The work is you learning what you need to learn.
Right.
You've got to have the skills. It's like anybody that says, "Hey, I'm a musician." It's like, okay, how much have you been paid to make music? You can be a musician, but you're not pro. You're not even semi-pro unless you're getting paid to do it.
Right.
You know, but guess what? You don't go pro by just buying a guitar at Guitar Center. You have to practice. You have to learn it. You have to become good at your craft. But once you're good at it, you're in demand. I mean, in fact, you know, Techport Center and Arena asked me, it's like, I need a list of TriCaster ops that we can hire for freelance, for events. You know, Smashing Pumpkins is coming in. We need an operator. So I'm building a list for them of people I know that are good. And so anybody that's watching this show, if you're a good TriCaster op, you need to contact me because I'll put you on the list. Send me your demo reel. You know, the key is have a good demo reel. Show us what you can do, and there's opportunities.
Right.
I mean, nobody I know that's running TriCaster that's halfway decent is worrying about making their car payment or paying for their insurance or paying their rent. You know, in fact, I had a friend in LA, you know, who was an audio engineer. He did really well, but he got into doing the streaming stuff, and he built a company around it and, you know, had 3 crews running 6 days a week instead of just him going out running audio. Now he's running a business.
Wow.
And making a fortune. Yeah. Doing the MTV Video Music Awards and doing the MTV Movie Awards and doing stand-up comedy shows in LA and getting flown all over the country. You know, I mean, I was asked to do a project in Hong Kong. They're like, do you want to go to Hong Kong for 2 years? I'm like, I can't go for 2 years. So that,
you're like,
I can go for a short period.
My child.
Yeah, I have kids. I got to see them. But, you know, the opportunities are amazing. And if you think about it, any company needs video communication.
Yeah.
Every, you know, schools. I mean, how many schools are doing online stuff?
Right.
You know, I mean, they need people to know how to do this. How to stream the classes, how to make them look good, how to integrate PowerPoints into it. And all these skills all tie back to, you can learn all this doing esports.
I mean, and I got lucky doing this with Vince because Vincent and I do it, you know, more as a hobby, but he had taught me how to do OBS. Like you saw him kind of pre-teaching me some of this that I hadn't used in a long time. But when we were in the midst of COVID, I was able to teach other teachers so that we could like run ourselves on here and then run our PowerPoint or something and then have both screens up and learn how to do that so that we could make production style videos for our kids, because kids nowadays are used to YouTube, right? Yep. And so if we're going to reach them, we need to make things that look like YouTube, right? You would think.
And it's important for it to look like TV. There's a difference between just throwing up a webcam and doing something,
or walking around with your cell phone.
It's like your lighting in here. You actually made effort to light people. You've got lights in the room. You've got cameras at good angles. You know, you're not sitting in front of a window with light behind you.
Right.
You know, you blocked off the window and put up your green screen. It's those little things that separate and make it look like, you know, it's not a bad Zoom call. It's professional video. And, you know, every grandmother and 5-year-old know what TV looks like. And if your message is, if you get out your message and it looks like garbage, your credibility is lower. If it looks like TV, you reach people and they pay attention more. So it's important, like what you guys are doing here. Good production value, multicam, good audio. I mean, you gave me a microphone to put on. Instead of just saying, hey, there's a mic on the camera, just talking towards the camera. You actually
talk really loud.
Yeah, and, you know, good audio, good lighting, good video, good graphics, good, you know, like
and
the
that
pictures
takes time because when we started, we were just like, okay, we'll use the cameras that are on the one webcam, and then we just learn from there. Just like, okay, well, we need to like make this better. We need to make it sound better. So let's get mics.
But it takes, like you said, it takes practice and it takes learning and it takes sticking with it, right?
And it doesn't take a lot of money to do it.
No. And one of the things that I really like to point out is just because you don't have the studio lights and don't have the multicams, that doesn't mean you can't start.
Right.
It's like it's like, let's make a show. Too many people suffer from what I call paralysis by analysis. They're like, I'm going to do a show and it's going to look like the MTV Video Music Awards. Guess what? You're not going to do that day one. But if you don't start, you're never going to get there. Yeah. And so it's like, y'all, every time I come back to your show, you've got new stuff. You've got a new angle. You've got this. You've got your lights are tweaked. You're never happy with, you're always tweaking. And that's why we geek out. It's like, dude, I can make this. Now I know how to do this. Now let's do a double box. And now, let's roll in some videos. And now, let's take a remote feed in if you ever want to, And you got to build. And that's what's great about the resources that are available. Get involved in these esports programs. Most of these schools are trying to add them. And just because you stink at Fortnite doesn't mean you can't be involved.
Right.
Because guess what? You need people on camera. You need the casters. You need people that talk about the game. You need people to run camera. You need people to punch the show. So, and in football and basketball, it's the exact same thing. They need the behind the scenes.
Yeah, because I would love to see it get to a point where even some of these middle schools have like the games on like a YouTube channel or something where the kids are producing it and showing the game. So if the parents can't make it to the game because they're getting to watch their kids play on YouTube later. But we know as adults and a parent, sometimes something comes up at work. There's a meeting. There's your car breaks down or whatever, and you miss your kid's game.
Or grandparents,
right?
Or friends,
or
aunts
and uncles in other parts of the country.
Every graduation.
Yeah.
And especially during COVID, it's like every student gets 2 tickets. Everybody else watch online. Guess what? Somebody's making that show.
Somebody's running those cameras. Somebody's setting it up.
So there's tons of opportunities.
So you have something coming up in July.
Yes, thank you.
So that you should talk about for just a minute.
So I know I talk a lot. So
no, that's okay.
If you're watching this and you are an aspiring filmmaker, there's a project that I'm producing here in San Antonio that you should be involved in, and it's called the 48-Hour Film Project. If you go to the URL, it's just the number 8, 48-Hour Film Project. So Google it. There's competitions all over the world. So what happens is if you have a team, it costs like $170 to have a team. I don't make money on it. But I have to pay to have it in San Antonio, and these fees. The main organization gets most of the money, and they help cover my costs, and I just do it to build community. But what it is, you show up at my office. All the teams show up at my office on Friday night, and it's February 15th, July 15th through the 17th this year. They show up, and everybody, the team leaders, go to a bowl. And they draw out 2 genres.
Okay.
So a genre could be buddy film.
Okay.
Romantic comedy. Or it could be film noir, slapstick. There's all these genres. So you draw 2 genres. And that's what you have to, so what you do is you have 48 hours from Friday night at 7 p.m. till Sunday night at 7 p.m. to write, shoot, edit, and deliver a short film. Now, the other trick that we throw in is
it has to be one of those 2, or
you have to do one of your genres. Okay. Some people do mix them both.
Does it have to be mixed?
I was going to say if you can do a mix.
You can.
You can pick which genre you want to do, or you could. Some people are like, I'm going to do a comedy film noir. It's really bizarre.
Awesome.
Thriller. Horror.
And how long do these films have to be?
I think it's 5 minutes.
Oh, how cute. Okay.
So, but what's cool is also on Friday night, we announced a prop you have to use in the film.
Nice.
A character and a line of dialogue.
Nice.
So to give you an example, last year, the character was Rick or Rita Tessimer, patient. The prop was a melon.
Okay.
And the line of dialogue was wrong, guess again. And so you just have to work that in, and if you don't have those 3 items and you don't do your genre, you're DQ'd.
Okay.
And the great thing is we do a screening, and last year we did it at the Brick, and it is amazing to watch these films. But what's really cool is if you win 1st or 2nd place in San Antonio, you're invited to the national competition called Filmapalooza in Washington, D.C., and the winners at Filmapalooza go to the Cannes Film Festival in France.
Wow.
That's
and
crazy.
We've had 2 teams that have made it all the way to France from San Antonio.
No way!
Yes. And what's cool is like one of the teams that's competed for the last few years, they started doing really well. They were great cinematographers, great writers, very creative. They started a production company. So this guy named Christian Strider, he started Stride Films. And now they're not going to compete this year because they're so busy doing projects because they're building their network, and you know, I may have one of them be a judge, you know, and so
Very cool.
It's really cool. We try to get industry people to be the judges, and then there's a lot of awards you could win. I think Geek Out needs to have.
I'm
a
like,
team.
maybe we should do
Y'all
one
need
for
to block off
fun.
July 15th through 17th and build your team and compete, because it is so much fun.
It sounds
and then
so
we do
fun.
The screening, and then we do a screening of all the films, and then we do an awards ceremony, and we give out, you know, best actor, best director, best animation, you know, best original score, because some people do write their own music for these. It's crazy.
Nice.
You know, there's all these categories you could win in, and you know, it is so much fun. But the most important thing is it builds community. You know, we're all fighting together to build this community in San Antonio, get respect for the teams here, you know, and the filmmakers, the cinematographers. There's one team that's competed for the last few years. It's a family. Mm-hmm. It's a dad and all of his kids.
Aww.
And they did the funniest film last year, where it was about a bee. And this guy's a beekeeper, and he's got his bee suit on, and then the bee eats this melon, and then he kind of starts acting weird and flying around weird, and they did some, you know, little animation, and it was so
cute.
funny. There was another guy that showed up last year. I get a call on like Thursday night before the 48-hour film project, and this guy's like, I've never done anything like this. Can I come to the kickoff event and just see how it looks and just kind of understand it? So he shows up. He signs up and made a film all by himself. He wrote it. He did all the parts in it, and so all of his shots were lockdown shots. And then he did it all in masks, and it was like this weird.
This was like
horror
Eddie
film.
Murphy.
No, he did. He had masks, so he had the lockdown, and he would do the first actor's part, and then go do the second actor's part and the third actor's part, and he just composited them together, and then. And it was funny, in the credits, it was his name for every role. and so we gave him a special judges award. It was called the Lone Wolf. We gave him the Lone Wolf award, but he just showed up to kind of see what it was and signed up and did a team. And he actually delivered his film before anybody else. He was the first one to deliver because he wasn't waiting on anybody. He just pumped it out.
Very
so
nice.
It's a 48-hour film project. And the cool thing, there's one in Austin, there's Dallas, there's El Paso, they're Amsterdam, New York. They're all over the United States. And if you win here, you go in and you compete against all of those others. So that film, you know, but your film has to be uploaded by 7 p.m. on Sunday. If you start your upload 1 minute after at 7:01, you're DQ'd.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
So you have a time pressure, and it's a great way to learn if you're a student, because anybody can come up with an idea, but doing it all in such a tight timetable and delivering it, you know, because some people tweak for weeks and they never finish.
Yeah.
But guess what? No matter what happens, you need to plan that it's going to take you 2 hours to upload your film, so you're done by 5 p.m. on Sunday and your upload starts, or your render starts, and then you're uploading at 7 or 6:50. I say make sure you're uploading at 6:30, because you don't know if there's a problem and you need to re-upload. You want to have some time. But it is so much fun.
That
and then
sounds
the
so
screenings
fun.
are cool. We do a red carpet, and we all have a good time. And it is, you know, we try to keep it all ages, but every now and then there's some spicy content. But, you know, you can't do adult content, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's a 48-hour film project coming up July 15th through the 17th. And, you know, I would love to see the Geek Out team.
I think I'm gonna have to convince him to
I
do
can
that.
see the look on Vince's face right now.
That
I think
sounds
we may
like
have just added another team.
I think that sounds like a lot of fun. And we've written a lot of things before for like our role-playing games and stuff. And we're helping our producer like just kind of write some of his film, and we helped with Vato Rangers and stuff.
Really?
Yeah,
I
we
love
helped
Vato
write
Rangers.
some of that. So
Jaybird did a film last year.
yeah.
No, did he? No, he did not do a film last year. He did one in the Film Slam.
He did one in the Film Slam.
Yes.
That's right. And so did Aaron, who's our new
And
producer.
if Jaybird is not in this, I'm gonna go have to, you know.
Yeah,
talk him
he
into
should
it.
do one
Or
too.
you
Do
should
it.
recruit him onto your team.
Put him on our team.
It's Jaybird on the Geek Out team. Geek Out SA team name.
We're gonna
Yeah,
do it.
cool.
it's so much fun, and the great thing is high school students can do it. Anybody can do it, you know.
Okay.
And you know, because it is a 48, you know, you may have to get your parents to make sure you can burn the midnight oil editing or shooting, and you know, and also I also allow, if anybody wants a location, I let them use Nelco Media. I had 2 teams that shot at my office last year, you know, just because we want to open doors.
Oh,
and Patrick says going to talk to the youngest on about this.
Yeah, I'd love to see some families get out there and do that, you know.
The family is so, because we watch their kids grow up. Because every year they're a year older. It's like they were little kids, now they're teenagers. One year they did one, they got a superhero film. And they did a funny film where they were like, you know, they built this, they had a little fake lab and they're making these potions to give them superpowers. And it was well done.
Nice.
I mean, the films are great.
I'm excited. Yay.
That's going to be cool.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited for it. I can't wait. Phil, thanks for coming and hanging out with
Phil.
us. Love it when you come by. It's always a fun show when you do.
Well, y'all are awesome, and
Thanks.
I say Geek Out SA. We all should do it.
Yes, all the time.
So thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen, and that's Phil.
Geek Out SA.
Bye. I don't know where the outro is.
Mute us.